England, you're not alone. We're all behind you, we're cheering from our homes. We're going all the way. We're going all the way.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Stand Your Ground. I'm your host, as always, Alex Benison. I'm joined by one half of the Mighty Whites podcast, Jack Robshaw.
Yeah, mate.
And you can see we've got a new guest this week, very special guest, as he's the man who recorded the intro for the Euros. It is Adam Crockett.
Good evening, guys. Mate? Yeah, nice to see you guys. Sounded great.
Yeah, it's good to have you on, mate, and nice to have someone on with an ability to do something other than chat shit, which is what we do. So,
yeah, if you want to listen to the full song, make sure you go to YouTube and search for "Come On England." And if you want to download the song, you can go to adamcrockett.hearenow.com. Make sure you go over there, purchase, and show it some love as well.
Thanks very much. Yeah, thanks for the plug. That'll do the world of good. How are you guys doing?
I'm spot on, mate. I'm going to answer because I think Alex's internet's froze. Yeah, but I'm really good, mate. It's good to have you on.
That always happens when I ask a question at school. Like, people just freeze. It's just, oh man.
Yeah. Well, as I guess I'm hosting for 5 minutes. So what made you decide to do the song?
So we've been kind of, with COVID being the way that it is, our assemblies have all gone digital. So we were asked, does anyone want to do an assembly? And being quite keen on being in front of a camera, I thought, well, this is a good opportunity to do something. And then coming up with ideas for the assembly, it was, I thought, I teach at a boys' school, so ways of kind of getting music in front of them and in a way where they can really kind of access it, something that's accessible. So I thought about football and music, the relationship, and with the fact that we don't have fans at the moment, or we didn't have fans when I was writing the assembly, it felt quite pertinent to talk about home advantage and chants and things. So I went through a couple of the kind of key chants that you hear and some of the history behind them. And finally, as the kind of final thing, I spoke about, World in Motion, 3 Lions, and said, right, well, these are great songs. Let's see if we can put some ingredients together to make our own version, and did a little kind of show and tell, and then finished up with that piece of music you heard earlier.
Yeah, cool.
It's one of those catchy songs that you listen to it, and 15 minutes later you can hear yourself going around the kitchen going, na 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 na. Oh, fuck, I can't get rid of it now.
Yeah, I mean, that is very much the way I feel at the moment, having recorded that a lot of times. Yeah.
Every time any tournament comes around, I find myself doing that with World in Motion for a month.
Yeah. Can you do the rap? Have you got that down?
If I was about 10 pints in, maybe. Right now, I definitely don't have it.
Well, it's been a fabulous weekend to have an international tournament back, sun blazing down, beer gardens, beers were just.
I'm guessing he was going to say beers were drunk.
I got burnt to a crisp, but it's fine. The pain was worth it.
Yeah. Well, are we going to start with England? Because we may as well, and then we'll go back to it.
We probably want to start.
Yeah, Alex, your internet's knackered, mate. Yeah.
Well, we'll do the best we can.
Yeah. Cool. This was a really good start. Like I'd just had a snapshot. Any winning result against Croatia is a really good result because they're a good side. They're not quite what they were 3 years ago, but they're still a really good side. Top class midfield. They're not as strong at the back when you look at it. Like when you're looking at their lineup, like Saleta Sarr's not that great and stuff. But overall, I thought we were miles better side. Deserved the win. Could have been more really, even though we didn't create loads and loads of opportunities. And I'll let you both speak before I start banging on about how good Calvin Phillips is, because I don't need much of an excuse to do that.
I mean, for my 2 cents, I thought it was a really solid start for England. I think Southgate's been borne out by the decisions he made with the lineup, putting Trippier in at left back. I think Calvin Phillips was excellent, and I think it sets a nice foundation for the rest of the tournament. Nice to have Raheem Sterling playing a little bit better than perhaps he did earlier in the season. And so it's a platform to build on, isn't it, really? And it'll be nice to see the kind of introduction of Sancho and Grealish, and a few of the injured guys coming back as the tournament goes on. So I think we've put ourselves in a decent position. 3 points, that's all we can ask for, really, isn't it?
Yeah, before we move on to the gameplay kind of things, it was really the lineup that kind of hit the headlines straight away, taking Shaw and Chilwell, who probably were the two best left backs in the Premier League this season, and not starting either of them and putting Trippier in, nailing home that fact that he will put Trippier in no matter what. He will find a place for Trippier to play. And then the inclusion of Sterling also, I think, gave fans a bit of something to have a go at, because Grealish did play really well in those two warm-up games.
Yep.
That cat again really just threw me off. The two warm-up games, Grealish looked in incredible form.
Yeah, obviously,
and I thought, especially with Joe and both chill. What is it going again?
Yeah, it's going really badly, mate. It's hard to tell when you finish speaking because you just keep stopping. But you were saying about how good Grealish was in the two warm-up games, and he was excellent. I could live with the Grealish not starting thing. That was fine. That didn't bother me so much. As much as Sterling's club form hasn't been great, Southgate obviously trusts him, and he does give you that threat in behind that you wouldn't have if you played certain other players. It's why I thought Sancho would play. But even though it worked fine, and I am still, I thought it was a really good performance, I still definitely aren't on board with the playing Trippier at left back thing. It's fine. It's not something I'm furious about, but I don't really, especially if he's going to pick Mings as left centre back because he wants a right left balance, then playing a right footed left back kind of undoes that balance. So it's an odd choice, but he was solid enough with Trippier, and Mings, who did not cover himself in glory at all in the warm-up games, had a really solid game at centre back.
Yeah, I mean, I've got to say, I think we won't have to worry about where Trippier goes, because Walker had an absolute stinker first half. Lots of unforced errors, and perhaps that gives Chilwell or Shaw a little chance to get in there at left back and move Trippier over.
Yeah, I believe he had Shaw on the bench, but not Chilwell, didn't he? Was it Chilwell that missed the 23 entirely? Because that probably says which one he's probably get the nod.
While my internet was being shy, that was one of the points I was going to bring up, was both Sancho and Chilwell missed out. However, neither of them had an injury.
Yeah, I don't understand how Sancho can be that far down the pecking order given his form over the last couple of years. But I can understand how he doesn't start, but I can't understand him being that far away from the starting option.
Might just be a case of shuffling the pack, using different players for different opposition, maybe. I don't know. I don't wear the waistcoat.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I must admit, I didn't think Croatia were that great in this. They really didn't threaten us too much at all. They had a couple of half chances snapped over at bar. That was about it, really. I was really pleased with the balance of the midfield. Declan Rice playing deep, and with Phillips ahead of him. Rice didn't stand out like Phillips did, but in his role, you don't really need to. You just play solidly, don't give ball away, and he did that.
Yeah.
But obviously, Phillips was excellent. I was very pleased to see that we were able to win a game where Harry Kane didn't play particularly well. That's probably a good sign going forward if we still won the game despite Kane not being at his best.
Yeah, he didn't seem to get an awful lot of service, and I think, as we go through, as the chemistry deepens or gets better or whatever the right word for that is, I think we'll see a bit more of him, fingers crossed. But yeah, you're absolutely right. To be able to kind of get over the line without your star striker firing is definitely encouraging.
I think he fell into that Tottenham way of playing where he dropped too deep. And I think Roy Keane mentioned this in one of his friendlies earlier on this season, that as a striker, with the amount of midfield talent that we've got, he doesn't need to drop that deep. He should just stick on the last man, and he would have had a lot more chances, and maybe something would have broke his way if he didn't drop that far. Like, sometimes it was basically in our half.
Yeah, I suppose because he's so used to doing that at Spurs, it is natural for him to drop in. And although we don't appreciate that so much in games like this, and in theory, the games against Scotland and Czech Republic should be the same, we might really appreciate it when it comes to playing France or someone like that. Having that extra body and being able to keep all the possession and stuff. Especially if he is going to play Sterling, it gives him a big space to run into. So, although it didn't suit this game well, it might suit us better later in the tournament in doing that.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know what I've missed with all my internet connection issues, but Jack, have you gushed over Calvin Phillips yet?
I haven't properly gushed. I've been trying to hold it back. But this says everything about... I mean, it's almost... No, it's not just that he was great, because I know he's a cracking player. I've been seeing him do it for 2 years. But he hasn't played as an out-and-out box-to-box midfielder other than sort of a couple of 10-minute sub appearances at the end of games. He hasn't played that role basically since before Marcelo Bielsa came to Leeds. He has been dropping in, playing deep, playing as the holding mid, not pushing on too much. And he's in the time since then, he's played maybe 7 or 8 games at centre-back in that time. He's so out of practice at this. But somehow, even without playing that role, for 3 years, he is better at it than he was 3 years ago. And not just by a little bit. Suddenly, he looked like... This was like... You know, you get young players and you say, oh, this is them announcing themselves on the big stage. Well, that's what this was. I cannot believe how impressive he was. Everything he did well. I can't think of a single mistake he made in the entire game. Just... didn't give the ball away, always a threat. When Kane dropped in, it was quite often him making the run into that position. His awareness of the game and the way he read it was just outstanding throughout. And I'm short of it being someone that I actually knew personally, I don't think I could be prouder of a footballer.
That's emphatic.
Yeah. Because there really was a point, like sort of, before Bielsa came in, I wasn't someone that was really down on him, but I wasn't massively up on him either. But there was a lot of Leeds fans who would have been perfectly happy if Calvin Phillips had gone to Barnsley for 400 grand. You know, he was a midfield. He was a centre mid. He had a bit of talent, but he didn't produce consistently enough. It never looked like that player. And it just upward trajectory and solidly. It's not just, oh, he improved a lot and now he's getting slightly better. It's a steep curve. He's not just getting better, he's getting better by a lot. Every 6 months, he is 15% better than he was.
Yeah.
I love having Marcelo Bielsa as a coach.
I guess being kind of a utility player and playing in a number of different positions, I'm going to stop talking.
Yeah.
No, it's.
Don't worry, Adam, mate. It's Alex's
fine.
fault.
If you can't hear me, it's probably.
I was just going to say, being able to see the game from different vantage points on the pitch must be a really nice way to learn the craft, isn't it? And being able to learn from your teammates around you. You know, he's a youngish guy, and being able to see what's around you and people with a bit more experience can inform your play and inform your development. So fingers crossed, he just keeps going from strength to strength.
Yeah, and then when the tournament finishes, I look forward to reading in the papers every week how massive club X is signing him for 70 million quid. Because that's what is going to happen at the end of this tournament. Every newspaper.
Yeah. I think, obviously, people will talk about the assist. But the major talking point for me, and I think it was as soon as this happened, I knew he was going to have a good game, was that volley from the corner. As soon as he hit that, you just went, oh, everything's going to go right for him today.
No. I jumped out of my chair when he hit that because I thought it was in. But it's one of the things that you don't really see because he plays so deep for Leeds and he's quite often back behind, in between the centre backs with the ball and stuff. Like he didn't have a terrible goal scoring record when he was a box to box midfielder. Like the season before, he scored like 7 or 8 goals. He's a good striker of the ball. Really good. He's quite a good free kick taker as well. He's never going to get a look in at that for England because there's better ones. But like he is a capable attacking player. It's just what he's been turned into that isn't his main strength. But I must admit, I was very pleased to see him and Declan Rice play so well together. Because most people, including me, to be honest, would have said, don't pick both of them, you pick one or other. And that's because I really thought that both of them would sit too deep. But I'm delighted with how well it went. Because I would have said you pick Rice or Phillips and you pick Bellingham alongside him. And they might do that against Scotland because we won't need as much defensive solidity in middle. But them playing together really shows that, one, that I don't know what I'm talking about, and two, that it's good that we can make room for 2 really good players that are in the same position and still have the team work.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see what happens with Henderson coming back to fitness as well, whether he decides to slot him in because he's a guy with a lot of experience, isn't he?
Yeah, I mean, and don't get me wrong, Jordan Henderson, if he's absolutely fully fit, would be starting. But with how long he's been out, I don't see how he's possibly match fit before the end of his tournament. So I think he'll probably be kept to 20 minutes at the end when we try to calm things down, things like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're not going to bring him on to try and win a game, let's put it that way, or take penalties.
That was an embarrassment, wasn't it? I don't know if you guys covered that, but that was alarming.
Yeah, if you're going to take a penalty off someone, you better score.
I think he was just like so keen to get over his duck, wasn't he?
Yeah.
So we might as well go back to the very beginning now of the tournament. Friday's game, which saw Turkey take on Italy, and Italy were running away 3-0 winners. I think everybody under the sun has said, God, Turkey looked tired about 20-25 minutes into this game.
Yeah, obviously I thought Italy were going to win this game, but I didn't think it'd be this easy. Italy were probably slightly better than I expected, and Turkey were much worse than I expected them to be. Like the previous games I've seen with Turkey, like when they won in Holland and the Netherlands, I shouldn't say Holland, that's only 2 parts of like 12 districts. When I've seen them in some previous games before this tournament, Turkey were really looking like a decent side. And they came into this game and they just didn't look at the races at all. And you're right, they did look absolutely exhausted after a quarter of an hour. And I know Italy pressed all over the pitch and really went for it and harried them, which is good to see. It's a good sign, especially going into this tournament where I think a lot of teams are going to suffer with fatigue as far as the season's gone. So they've probably looked the fittest of any side I've seen so far.
Yeah, they're pretty relentless, weren't they?
Yeah, but Turkey just made it really easy for them, and it probably could have been more.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it may be also oh, sorry, go on, Alex, go for it, mate.
Oh, he might not be able to, mate.
I was just going to say, I think Turkey also maybe overawed by the occasion because the opening was pretty impressive, and maybe they just got a bit of nerves about them as well.
Yeah, it may well have got to them, that.
Yeah, I think the only talking point for Turkey for me was they played basically like they had no midfield. It was just long ball after long ball. And when your striker is 36 and has played a full season in Ligue 1, and yes, they've won the title, and yeah, he did score some outrageous goals, he's not going to be able to do it all on his own against people like Chiellini, Bonucci, Florenzi, Spinazzola. He's not going to have the legs to get round them by himself.
That was one thing. I haven't seen a great deal of him before that game, but that Spinazzola looked like a player. Especially for another right-sided player on the left.
He's one of those players that's just transitioned backwards. He originally came through as a left forward and has somehow ended up at left back. But it works. I guess we'll talk about the goals. The own goal by Demiral. It's pretty unfortunate. He couldn't have left it. I think I can't remember who was on the back stick. It might have been Insigne at the back stick. Was going to tap it in anyway. It is unfortunate. He tried to do his best with it, and he just hit him.
Yeah, you can't do much about that. It wasn't his body positioning wasn't great, but it would have been a tough one to clear either way.
It's like a five-a-side goal.
Yeah.
Particularly when I'm on the pitch, like you're running back to try your best to do anything for the team, and just it's unfortunate, poor guy, but life goes on, eh?
And then Ciro Immobile, a pretty scrappy goal, to be fair. He lucky that it bounced back to him and he managed to slot it home. I'm happy to see him get a goal, though, because he's been one of those never anywhere else.
Yeah, it's a bit weird. Obviously, I was saying in our preview of this that Immobile scored a load in Serie A, don't score many anywhere else. So he did kind of shut me up a bit by getting one in the first game. Because I didn't fancy him to do it. My one weakness with Italy looking at their squad was between him and Belotti. I wasn't sure that they had enough in them, but they certainly impressed me in this game. And then Insigne getting one late on, another good goal. But he's a cracking player and has been for years. No one's shocked to see him do well.
No, he's one of those players that you look at and you go, he's a great young talent, even though he's about 29 now.
Yeah, he does have a touch of the Joe Coles about him.
Yeah, and then on to another one of the home nation's first games on the Saturday. Wales won, Switzerland won. And you know, when we did our previews, we were talking about Switzerland and saying, God, they don't seem to have a lot of quality. And then I saw their starting 11 and went, oh God, they've got a lot of quality.
Yeah, I didn't realise that Breland Bolo he's actually finally, after about 3 years, over all these injury issues he's had. So he's looking like the player that everyone thought he might be. I still don't particularly rate Seferovic that highly, even though he's had a good season. But the wing, like Mbabu and Rodriguez at wing backs, are both very good going forward. Get quality balls into box. Cher, Elvedi, Akanji is a pretty solid back three as well, and Jan Sommer's a good goalkeeper. So yeah, we were probably a bit harsh on them, really. And they should have won this game. They should have won this game quite easily, based on the way it went.
Yeah. So Kiefer Moore as well. Now, he's one of these players that I've not really heard much of. He's a championship striker?
Yep.
If I'm correct. I've not heard much of him. I don't really keep up with the championship a hell of a lot. But he looked like a decent target man for this Welsh side.
Yeah, he's pretty solid, is Kiefer Moore. He's got, without wanting to descend into stereotypes, he does have quite a good touch. His hold-up play is good, all of that stuff. He was pretty good. He was good when he was at Rotherham. He was pretty good at Barnsley. He did quite well at Wigan as well, in a side that didn't score many goals. Obviously, he's played against Leeds quite a lot before we got promoted, so I saw a fair bit of him, and he always caused us a bit of trouble. So he's quite a good player. He's not as technically adept as some of the other options, like if they played Tyler Roberts or if they played Harry Wilson as a false nine, which they have done a few times. He's not as technically gifted as that, but he gives you an out ball, and in a game like that, like the Switzerland game where they're on the back foot for most of it, you need an out ball. And he took his goal really well. And he was unlucky not to get another one early on that Sommer made a really good save from.
Yeah. And before we do move on, I do want to say, I'm not so sure Dan James was just in being so angry about being taken off. He's done that a few times this season with Man United as well in games where he's been taken off and he's thrown a bit of a strop for coming off.
It's residual anger from his move to Leeds falling through.
Well, I think it's good to show a bit of passion, isn't it? But I guess it can, if that's your like one trick, it can get a bit old pretty quick.
Yeah.
He's one of those players that he'll have a good career till he's about 28, 29, and his legs starts to go because his pace is just the main bit of his game.
Yeah, he is such a threat though. Even he is one of them. Even if he's having a bad game, he's still a threat because it doesn't matter how good a defender you are. If someone's a lot faster than you and they get 1v1, you're in trouble.
Yeah. I won't want to be in like a 100-meter sprint with him because it'd be like, I don't know, a scooter going against a Lamborghini. I'd get there a few minutes after he'd finished.
Well, mate, as you know, we played five-a-side last week and I now haven't been able to walk for 3 days. So, because my ankle fell to pieces.
A game that...
Oh, that's an unfortunate time for it to
but
go
this
down.
has an overshadow. It's not a game that you're on the pitch. Yeah, lovely. A game where you don't really want to talk about.
So this is just obviously
Talk about
this story was just this story was just horrible. Like Finland won 1-0. That's all that we need to say about the game. That was weirdly, I think that's the scariest thing I've ever seen on a football pitch. And I did watch the game where the Fabrice Muamba thing happened and stuff, but I think it's just because I don't know what it was about this one in particular. Maybe it was that the camera angle was on his face when it happened because of the direction he fell. And you see it. Luckily, every single person there knew what had happened immediately. So everyone reacted the right way. The medical staff were brilliant. Anthony Taylor did brilliant. Simon Kjaer did unbelievably well to keep his head in that situation, run over, put him in recovery position, make sure his tongue's in, all of that stuff. But it was just, I've never seen... it's quite rare that I get emotional about something that doesn't involve someone I know personally, but this one I was pretty shook up by. And it sounds like he's probably going to be, at least in human terms, if not football terms, it sounds like he's going to be okay, which, thank Christ for that. But yeah, it was horrible to see. And just, it does, and I know it does happen, if you get one or two of these stories a year, and it's not fair that we think of it like this, but often it'll be this player in the Belgian 3rd division, and you forget about it a couple of weeks later because it's not high profile, whereas this one will stick with everyone forever.
I think it's also worth noting his age, 29 years of age, and that is younger than I am, and that brings it home and makes you kind of think like, and he's running around every day. He's a fit guy. And it just makes you kind of, brings it home, doesn't it?
Yeah, I don't know if my internet's going to hold out for this bit, but I want to squash some of the reports that have come out today.
Yeah.
There's back for their handle.
You see, this is just unfortunate timing for Alex. His internet's just knackered.
Because of the UEFA if the game didn't continue.
Yeah. Basically, Alex, I'm going to tell you to mute yourself for a second, try and refresh something. Because barely any of that was intelligible. I'm guessing what he's going to be on about is, did you see the interview with Peter Schmeichel earlier?
I didn't. No, I didn't.
Basically, Peter Schmeichel's come out and said that the sort of options they were given by UEFA, because the players all said, the official line straight afterwards, the players wanted to play on, Christian Eriksen wanted to play on. And I was willing to believe that because I actually said at the time, I wouldn't be shocked if they do come out and play on, because sports people tend to be like that.
Yeah.
You know, they quite often they have that drive. But apparently the options they were given were basically come out and play on, play at midday tomorrow, or lose 3-0. Were basically the options they were given.
That's
which,
puts you in a tricky position, doesn't it?
Yeah, which, if accurate, they didn't really, and it is believable. I mean, they made Borussia Dortmund play the day after their bus got bombed, didn't they, and stuff like that. So it's not.
It's just massively lacking in compassion.
Yeah. Which, if those were the options given, that's just not right. Like, I know that it's at a tournament, you do have a lot of time constraints, but there must be, I'm not even sure what the better thing to do would have been. Like, it might well be, even though they lost, that long term, the best thing for them to do was probably just to play it and get it finished. But when it was happening, like, it didn't, just as soon as they announced they were coming back out to play, I was like, well, it's their decision, good for them, I hope all goes well for everyone. But it felt long. Yeah.
I mean, to be perfectly honest, I saw a few of the highlights. I don't know what the kind of mode of play was after Christian Eriksen's kind of collapse had happened. Were they still playing at their proper level? Because I remember when was it Eduardo for Arsenal back in the day?
Yeah, against Birmingham.
Yeah, he got his leg shattered, and like for the next 10 minutes, the ball was just like it was incredibly pedestrian football. So I just wondering what the game was like after he kind of collapsed. And
obviously I mean, it wasn't the most intense game in the world anyway, but it did drop. It's like the weird things, like when Poyampolo scored for Finland, like scores the goal and he goes, get in, and then like catches himself and he's like, oh, you know what?
Yeah.
Same happened to Hradecki after he saved the penalty. He like really big celebration for saving the penalty, and then you see like a realization on the face of, I shouldn't be celebrating saving a penalty.
It's so hard because you've been put in that position where you're on the big stage. Everything you are, this is like, for a lot of people, I'm sure it's the pinnacle of their career. And on the one hand, you want to embrace it and grab it with everything you've got, but then you've just seen that happen, and it just puts things in stark contrast, puts you in a very tricky position.
Yeah,
I don't know what I would do in that position. Like, I'm sure that I would find it tricky to separate the mind, the heart, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it was just horrible to watch, and this is not as important as some of the other things involved. Like, I'm trying to look at the positives of it. Like the positive of when it happened to Fabrice Muamba was all the top level football now have several defibrillators around the pitch and stuff like that, and it led to something good. And that happening probably may well have saved Christian Eriksen's life.
Yeah,
the way that's happened. But the TV coverage, and I did end up turning it off at one point, just because I think that there's a lot. I know it's hard because you're not prepared to be dealing with a situation like that. And if you're directing a football match, you shouldn't really be prepared for that as like your default.
Yeah.
But I don't think it takes much to know you don't cut to the crying wife. You don't zoom in on Christian Eriksen when he's having CPR. I don't think that you need to have anything other than a shred of human decency about you to know that's not the right thing to do.
Yeah, the match is enough of a spectacle without that nonsense, isn't it?
Yeah, and I saw the BBC getting a lot of flack for it, and the BBC, fair enough to get some flack for it, but they weren't controlling those pictures specifically, but they could have cut back to the studio, which a lot of countries did. So like, it's not the biggest thing. There are bigger things going on, and there'll have been a lot of confusion and a lot of panic. But it wasn't great, and luckily, it sounds like he's going to be okay, because if they'd have shown all that and it had gone the other way, I think there'd have been a real lot of anger. Because
definitely.
That, although it happened in public, that was a really private moment, and it shouldn't really have been shown to millions, probably billions of people.
No.
All over the world.
Yeah, and there's been lots of stories speculating why it happened, what's going to happen with Eriksen's footballing career after this, and we're not going to speculate on it. It will be what it is, but at least he's fit, he's awake, he's conscious, he's able to speak, and looks like he's going to make a full recovery.
Yeah. Whether he plays football again doesn't really matter. It's just so. I mean, if he never plays football again, it will of course be a real shame because he's a hell of a footballer. But there's more important things than that.
Yeah. So the game that was on, well, it was supposed to be afterwards, but it was at the same time due to the delay. Belgium 3, Russia 0. And I mean, Lukaku getting 2 goals right after hearing about this news as well. I mean, detriment to being able to focus, but it must have been tough for him to go out there and feel up to it.
Yeah. This one I only saw the highlights of because I was out. It's one of the few games that I didn't see all of, but good finishers. He's just a world-class centre forward, and I suppose again it's that sportsman's mentality. Yeah, it'll have been really hard for him. He plays with Christian Eriksen, but a lot of sports people are able to use stuff like that as motivation, and it seemed that he was able to do that. I was pleased for him. I was pleased to see Belgium win because I'd rather Belgium win than Russia. So,
and a nice gesture for him to dedicate one. Was it one of the goals to Eriksen in his celebration?
Yeah,
it's a nice gesture.
Yeah, that, and he dedicated the Man of the Match award as well at the end.
That's a nice touch.
Yeah.
Which actually, speaking of which, is what UEFA did with the Finland-Denmark game. They gave Christian Eriksen the Man of the Match award for that game.
Yeah. There was nothing else they really could do.
No.
But it's weird that Denmark Finland game. Like, don't get me wrong, this is not the big thing about it. It's like a tiny little aside. But it is a bit. It's a shame for Finland as well. Like the first game at a major tournament that they won, it's a massive result for them, and no one, including the Finnish, care because it's not important. And like that's the other thing. Like if it had gone the other way, the whole tournament would have become unimportant. Luckily, I don't think that's going to happen.
Yeah.
But, like it was just a weird thing to see, and hopefully we'll never see it again. But statistically, we probably will at some point.
Yeah. So moving on to the Sunday games, obviously we've talked about England versus Croatia, but another team that's making their major tournament debut is North Macedonia. They lost 3-1 to Austria, but Goran Pandev, at 37 years of age, getting North Macedonia's first goal in a major tournament was a nice touchy feeling to see that, especially making it 1-1 as well.
Yeah, Pandev's been around forever. He's won pretty much everything because he was in the Inter squad when they won the Champions League.
Yeah, he was backup striker
to Militao. Yeah, he's had a really, really good career, and scoring a goal at a major tournament is a nice little addition to it. Obviously, I was kind of on Alioski watching this game because I'm a Leeds fan, so I couldn't help myself. I thought North Macedonia acquitted themselves quite well, and just in the end, a bit of experience and a bit of quality told in the end.
It must be such an amazing experience for those guys going into your first kind of major tournament admittedly a minnow, but hopefully they have a really good time. Maybe they can upset a few of the bigger clubs and just enjoy it.
Yeah,
I imagine.
I was going to say, have you seen the Marko Arnautovic stuff?
No.
Yeah, he kicked off after he scored his goal, and it looked like he was aiming it towards Alioski at first.
Well, I believe it was. According to the reports, because Arnautovic is Serbian, like his family is Serbian, and Serbia and Albania do not get along, and Gianni Alioski is ethnically Albanian, and it sounded like it was. I believe the rough translation is alleged to be something along the lines of "fuck your Albanian mothers" or something like that. And there was a bit of a reach saying that he did like a white power hand signal, but I'm led to believe that, you know, the one that started as a joke on the internet and then they actually adopted it because they couldn't get called out for it because it's also the OK sign. But apparently, like in the Balkans, that is kind of a sort of a fuck you gesture. So they reckon that that's what it was. But he really, really kicked off after the goal. He was mouthing off at all the fans, mouthing off at the players. I mean, David Alaba ran over and grabbed him by his face.
Yeah.
And like they were all getting hold of him. And so I've no idea whether or not it was racist. I didn't hear what he said. I wasn't there. There's a lot of reports suggesting it was, but we'll see. The main thing I couldn't believe is you come on, score a late winner, and your reaction is to be so angry that 5 of your teammates are having to restrain you. It was a very odd reaction.
Yeah, and you say score a winner. They were already 2-1 up at this point.
Yeah.
So, who knows? Maybe, you know, being out in the Chinese league and earning all that money, thinks, fuck it, I'll get away.
Yeah, I mean, he's done his apology saying, you know, yeah, I'm sorry that I was so out of it. There were some heated words for which I'd like to apologise, especially to my friends from North Macedonia and Albania, which does make you think that he must have referenced it to phrase it like that. But yeah, it's a bit of a weird one.
I mean, it's hard. I didn't see it, and first I'm hearing of it, but on the face of it, doesn't sound good, doesn't look good. Yeah, it's not what you want in the game, is it really?
No.
It's not, and especially nowadays where people are being called out for lots and lots of different things, it is a major step back for football. If what he has said is true, then it's a major step back, and he probably should be punished.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see what the outcome is.
Yeah, the one problem with stuff like this, as we saw with the unfortunately still at Leeds Kiko Casilla, these things are never quick.
No.
Yeah, it always takes forever.
So we'll move on to the final Sunday game. And to be honest, this is my favourite game to watch. Both teams just went for it. Netherlands 3, Ukraine 2. It was a cracking game.
Yeah, really good game. You would have never guessed that Ukraine were going to get back into it the way it was going. It's not like Netherlands were so far ahead of the Ukraine that it wasn't a contest, but they were the better side throughout. They played some nice stuff. I'm still not sure that they're playing the best system, to be honest. I'm not sure that the back three is the best way for them to go. But, you know, Van Aanholt and Dumfries got forward really well from wing back, and they caused a few problems, especially Dumfries, who ended up scoring winner. But he had a few chances throughout. Ukraine were a little bit tentative. You know, they played all right, but were a long way. But they were comfortably second best. And then Yarmolenko scores that screamer, and suddenly they just get this rush of belief. And there was a brief moment where I thought that they might win it. I really thought Ukraine were going to end up winning it, because I don't rate De Boer at all as a manager because of, well, most places he's gone, he's done a bad job. So as soon as it started going away from them, I thought he's not going to know what to do here and they're going to mess this up. But it was one of them where they won in spite of their manager. Moment of quality and a bad piece of goalkeeping. Like, yeah, you know, he should have cleared it, passed it out, didn't clear it, and then he should save Dumfries' header. It's a very poor way to give away a game at the end when you've worked so hard to get back into it.
Yeah, and it would have been unfortunate for a Netherlands side in the first tournament in 7 years to go in at home and draw 2-2 in your opening game.
It would have been funny, though.
Yeah, true. So on to the Monday games, and a game that I think all England fans had their eye on. One, because it's in our group, and two, because it's another home nation. Scotland 0, Czech Republic 2. What to
Bad
goal?
time for it to skip.
Christian, say that?
Yeah, bad time for it to skip. But yeah, that second goal from Patrick Schick. So that's goal of the tournament sewn up then.
It was a cracker, wasn't it? Just opportunistic, but fantastic. Yeah, what a nice strike.
Yeah, I saw people blaming the centre back Hendry for hitting that shot, which was a stupid. It was a stupid shot to take on, but no one's going to look over the shoulder at that moment. He wasn't to know that David Marshall was for some reason 35 yards off his line. Like, why David Marshall was that far out of his goal, I have no idea. It's a absolutely unbelievably good finish. It's perfectly judged, just under bar. But God, it's crap goalkeeping to be in that position in the first place.
Yeah, it's massively David Marshall's fault for being that far off the line. But these are another team that I think we said before the tournament started. There's a lot of quality in this game.
Yeah, I think if I remember rightly, I did get lucky because I think I said they have got Patrick Schick and he's quite good. And I think I did say that. So I think on this one, I'm off though. But yeah, but to be honest, I know that they won this 2-0. But I don't think the Czech Republic looked particularly good. Like, I thought Scotland were at least as good as them, if not slightly better for long periods of the game. And if Scotland have had a different manager to Steve Clarke and picked a lineup that made any sense, I think they might have won it. Like, he played that O'Donnell at right back ahead of Patterson. And I've only seen that O'Donnell play about 3-4 times. I don't watch Scottish football very often. But he's always looked, for this level, rubbish. Basically, he never looked anywhere near the standard needed to play in this game. How you end up playing like that, and how you end up not giving any time to Billy Gilmore is absolutely beyond me. Given the players in their squad, he should be playing. How you can pick Lyndon Dykes over Che Adams if you're going to play one up front, I don't understand either. Dykes is maybe a touch stronger in the air, but I wouldn't argue that in terms of attacking the ball, he's just bigger. I thought it was a very odd team selection.
Yeah, maybe he had one eye on the England game next. Didn't want to show all his cards for the first game, but it is a major backfire, is some of these players missing out.
Yeah, I would hope for his sake he hasn't done that, because this was, as much as obviously England v Scotland is always massive, but this was Scotland's biggest game. This is the one. If they lose to England and lose to Croatia, everyone goes, well, fair enough. This is the one that people thought this is their shot to win. And if you win this, you've on it a nick a point and you're probably through. Because even if you come third, 4 of 6 third place teams go through? And if you're on 4 points, you'll probably go through. And they will. This was their big chance. The website that I write for about Leeds, we've got like a couple of Scottish lads that write for us, and they were absolutely fuming because they're just like, right, that's it, the chance is gone. And I don't quite agree with them because it'd be so like us to lose to Scotland, so we'll see. But basically, all their confidence is gone now.
And it was a real shame because that could have. I mean, they didn't play awfully. They had a couple of good chances, and it could have been a real, setting that foundation. It's what I keep saying. Like, setting the foundation early on in the group would have been advantageous, especially when you got a big match against England coming up on. Is it Friday? I think it is Friday.
Yeah, that's Friday.
But they'll be saving it for us. I'm sure they'll give us a good go.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. I'm not that one. I am going out for.
Yeah, and I don't blame you. And then the other game that has actually taken place today, Poland 1, Slovakia 2. Major talking point from this is Kuchariak has got a red card. It's the first red card of the tournament, but it also means he misses Poland's trip to Sevilla, which is where he used to play. So he doesn't get to go back and play on.
I hadn't factored in that their next game was
Round where he kind of really cut his teeth, because that's where he do Europa Leagues there.
Yeah, I didn't realise that that game was in Sevilla. I thought the second yellow was a little bit harsh, to be honest, but Krychowiak's got a lot of previous for doing things like this, so his reputation might have gone ahead of him. Slovakia were pretty impressive when it was 11v11. I did think Poland looked the better side, but like Slovakia were pretty solid throughout it. They did perfectly well. And you look for a team, and it's not full of quality, but they've got just enough that they can upset. And it helps that Skriniar, obviously, who ended up scoring from corner, he is a really good centre back, which does help. If you're going to have to defend a lot, having a top class centre back really does help. The first goal obviously was a Szczesny own goal, but it was brilliant. It was really good play from Robert Mack. Beat one man, beat the second, good shot at the near post, deflected onto the post, hits Szczesny in the back and goes in. On first viewing, I thought it was bad goalkeeping, but the deflection was bigger than I first realised, so it was probably just unlucky. Poland's equaliser started second half after about 30 seconds was the smoothest bit of football they played all game. It was really good play. But as soon as the red card happened, Slovakia got the confidence, and by the end of it, although I think a draw would have been a fair result, it wasn't like a robbery that Slovakia won.
No, definitely not. Not after the red card, anyway.
It's a massive result for Slovakia, because I mean, them winning that, 3 points ahead of Poland. They've got Spain and Sweden in the group. They're probably not going to get out of Spain, but as I was saying with Scotland, if they'd have managed to get a win in this one, Slovakia now probably only need a point against Sweden, and they're probably sorted. It's a huge result for them.
It is a massive result for them, and it's probably well deserved over the course of 90 minutes. I know Poland came back in the start of that second half, but it was deserved.
Yeah.
And the game that is taking place at the moment is Spain and Sweden, which is 0-0 currently. They're 29-30 minutes in. But who cares? England play on Friday.
Yeah. Having seen the way Scotland lined up, obviously on paper we should always win this game, but having seen the way Steve Clarke had Scotland lined up, I'm actually more confident now than I was. I think that we'll win. I think we'll win this, and I think it'll be relatively comfortable. I'm going to say 2-0, but I think we'll probably deserve to win it by more than that.
Adam, any predictions?
Yeah, I mean, I love watching England play Scotland, and so fingers crossed I got something to celebrate on Friday. I'm going to go bigger. I think 3-0. I think 3. I think I think our lineup will change. I think this might be one for Grealish, and yeah, I think hat full of goals.
Yeah, I reckon we can win this. I'll say 3-1. I reckon Scotland sneak a goal, and I reckon it's probably Che Adams as well who will start that game. I reckon we do make one change in our starting lineup though, and I think Foden comes off the right wing, and I think Sancho starts.
I could see that, especially if Kane's going to drop deep. If you then had Sancho and Sterling on the wings, it does give you lots of threat in behind.
Yeah.
So that would be interesting to see. I also, as Adam was saying earlier, I could see Trippier over to right back for Walker, and either of the actual left backs playing left back.
I fancy that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Luke Shaw, because he's the better one.
There's not much in it, to be fair. I don't really mind either way between him and Chilwell.
Yeah, but I think that'll do us for this episode of Stand Your Ground. Before we do go, just because I'm going to have it stuck in my head for so long, you might as well have it stuck in your head for that long. So that's all.
Come on, England, you're not alone. We're all behind you, we're cheering from our homes. We're going all the way. We're going all the way.
It's a shame that just cuts off before the nice bit of bass kicks in.
Well, if you want to go and listen to the full song, you can go over to YouTube and search for Come On England, or you can go to adamcrockett.herenow.com and make sure that you do purchase that and show it some love. It's a fantastic song.
Well, thank you very much indeed for your
It's
support
stuck
as
in my
well.
head a couple of days before we do this. Just
See, that says a lot. It's so good that it's breaking Alex's internet. That's how good that song is.
yeah, it actually is.
Well,
That's
no,
the real. That's the real reason that it keeps breaking. His missus in other rooms, just streaming it constantly, never stops.
It's like my folks down south. They're loving it. No, but I've got to say thank you so much for having me on the show tonight, guys. It's been an absolute blast, and thanks for the love for the song. It's already, like, just with this, it's done more than I expected it to. So absolutely made up.
Well, thank you for coming on as well. And I do apologise that my internet has been shite.
It happens. I mean, I work at a school. It's like, bread and butter to us. So it's all good.
Yeah, but they're probably lying about it.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, lockdown, man, like the amount of times where it's like Friday period 8 and you're like, right, who's here? Oh, right. Okay. Free period then, so yeah.
As always, make
It's not going to let him plug.
sure that you do follow the buzz over on Facebook at W. It's going to keep doing it, innit? I'm not going to be able to do an outro.
Yeah. Go to @WTBdotcom for all the stuff on the buzz. It's all on YouTube, etc. It's on everywhere you find your podcasts. If you want to hear more about me and KC talking about Leeds United, that's at Mighty Whites Pod on Twitter and mightywhitespodcast.com. It works better because Alex knows my plugs and I don't know his. But yeah, I think that'll do us well enough. So just look for What the Buzz and you'll find everything.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure, Adam, to have you on.
Brilliant. Well, thank you so much. I've had a really good time, and enjoy the rest of the Euros, guys.
That's not up to us. I'll enjoy it if we're good.
Well, let's get
It's
to
fine.
Friday.
It's coming out.
Yeah. Fingers crossed.
Hey, stop saying it's coming home. It's we're going all
all
the way.
And we'll see you